Hey, Maria, back with another video. It's 8:51 p.m. and it is August 17th, 2022. It is Wednesday evening and I am really tired but not tired enough to actually like hit the pillow and fall asleep. It's more like my thought process is slowing down and my body feels a little sluggish, but not enough to go to sleep. Just like really slowed down. But I just wanted to come on here and make a video because, I just, you know, there's times where like my mood goes up and down because of, the the trauma that I've experienced. Um, like today I was okay. It seems like it goes like I'll be fine and I'll just be humming along. Everything's great. And then I'll wake up one day and then middle of the night and then there it's there. And then it goes into this like peak and then it kind of like goes right back down again. It's like a cycle. And I need to really like chart this down on a piece of paper as to like, okay, normal, 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 normal. And then all of a sudden, here it comes. There might be certain things that go on in my day-to-day life that I'm not picking up on immediately, but it's somehow registering in the back of my mind and then regurgitating it or maybe triggering it, these thought processes. Or I'm trying to explain why this happens. Why? Because God knows I don't like fucking thinking about it. I don't. I don't. Maybe a lot of the reason is because I don't have much activity. And, don't get me wrong, I love going to work and I spend hours there and do work even at home and everything, but it's the same function all the time. And I will say that the targeting did drive me into my home more. Like I just got so tired of dealing with the targeting that I just basically at this point in my life, I just literally, if I have to go to the store, I'll go to the store and then I'll come home. You know what I mean? I don't want to go out here, there, everywhere. Like I used to just go to certain places just randomly. Every once in a blue moon, like I think maybe about 3 months ago. I think it was about 3 months ago. I got up on a weekend and went down to the Woolworths, I think it was. Yeah, it was that antique store down on I think 19th Street or something like that here in town. So, but for the most part, it's like I'm becoming a hermit because I got so tired of dealing with and I know some people would say, well, maybe COVID had something to do with it because, people were in isolation for a while, but it would have happened whether COVID was going on or not. It's like, I just got so tired of dealing with what was going on outside. But don't get me wrong, I've always liked my solitude, but I have to say that my view of people has changed since dealing with the targeting, only because, like, you start seeing what people really are. Like you really start seeing how easily manipulated they can be, how yeah, and they are. They're extremely manipulated. They can be easily manipulated, and they use very bad judgment on taking sides and making decisions. And this whole thing like totally proves it. Now, um, not only that, it's just like the ugly side of people, like that you see, like get displayed, like that horrible, horrible bitch woman over there at the Holmes place. I'm going to spare the business owner humiliation and whatever that comes along with it for being kind of a jerk to me. Okay, not he wasn't really so much a jerk. He was just kind of being in the middle. But to me, let me tell you about people who are in the middle, especially when they know that something's wrong and they don't do anything about it. You're no different than they are. But I'm going to cut you some slack and mostly focus on this horrible old bitch that was working over there. She was just an absolute nightmare and very rude, and because she felt entitled to do this because she had in her mind, well, this woman's family is behind this. I'm friends with her family, and therefore I have the right to behave this way. And I don't want to go into it because I'm tired of talking about people who do this sort of stuff and the bullying and the harassment that goes on with it and the childish behavior, invading people's spaces. I'm not going to go into all of that. But, but, you know, she's just an example, just one of the examples of people who will do wicked things if they feel as though they can get away with it. A while ago, I did a video about it had different segments. I mean, I put a lot of work in that video because, like, I'm not good at video editing or anything like that. But I was like really happy with myself that I actually made a decent video that actually put things together, and I really need to get back into doing that. But anyway, um, this video was talking about how people are easily manipulated, and then also makes bad decisions and fails to question authority and the problems that happen. I think I'm going to attach that video. Hopefully I can find it in my over 1,000 numbers of videos that I've made. But that's my issue. It's like, but in this situation, I was trying to explain in my video kind of the things that I had to deal with when I was in the height of my targeting and the behavior that I had to deal with. And I'm going to just come right out and say it. I mean, I think it was just goddamn fucking evil. Like, I think people who become hostile in the workplace, to me, in my mind, they should be guilty of attempted murder. Because or something along those lines. And I know it's against the law to do gang stalking and all this other stuff. I fully understand that part of it. But when I think about how people are basically threatening your ability to provide for yourself, to live for basically trying to outright create some sort of war in the workplace, knowing, and if it hasn't occurred to them, they should know that you are there because you have a house to keep, you have a roof to put over your head, you're taking care of your family or whatever the situation is while you're working. Like, this is what I need to survive. So what is your fucking problem? Is basically is the question that I have to pose to people who behave this way. What is wrong with you? Now I understand people can get competitive in the workplace, and I'm going to tell you, I don't like competition. I'm not a competitive person. I like focus. Okay, focus is something that I think is more important than competition, and I tend to lose focus when I feel like I'm trying to one up on somebody. Like if I was let's just say, for example, I was a great dancer. Okay, like I was this kick-ass ballerina who just literally mesmerized people. That's I would be so into my talent and my skill and the desire to express that I would want to do it well, and I would want to perform in a way that makes me feel like I've accomplished something, But and this is what my focus would be, and then I would be lost, of course, in the music and everything else that goes along with it. So it would come to me naturally, like it would be something that fueled me, and that alone is going to fuel me. I can't get interested interested in my own hobbies or focus in my own life if somebody wants to make a competition of it, because to me, it would make me think, well, I'm not able to put in my personal feelings and attachments and things. It's different for me. Like, I feel like when you become competitive, like you sometimes lose focus of whatever the art is behind it, or the creation behind it, or the recreational enjoyment that you get out of it, or whatever. I sometimes feel like it's not something that it makes me frustrated because I just want to focus on what it is I'm doing, basically, is what I'm saying. So, I'm just not somebody who wants to do those sort of things, And, but when you're doing this sort of thing in the workplace, it's like you're putting somebody's life You're threatening somebody to go out in the street. Like, you don't care if they lose their job or they have to sit here or face homelessness or whatever. To me, you are an evil being. You're an uncivilized piece of trash, is what you are. And that's exactly how I feel. Now, I understand people want to raise themselves up and they want to do the best they can. Well, this is what you have to do. You have to sharpen your skill set. Maybe I am naive. Maybe, and I guess I am because there's so many sharks out there. The reason why this gang stalking is allowed to continue is because there's violation, there's disrespect for the law, or there's ignorance of the law. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. When people do these sort of things, they're either ignorant, that they don't know they don't know that it's against the law, or they're not aware that it makes you uncomfortable, or they're not aware that it denies you your human rights, or they don't whatever. Okay, yeah, they're ignorant. Okay, they don't know any better. Okay, but some people are malicious and they know exactly what they're doing. They know that they can throw your ass out in the street, like that fucking bitch did over there at that Holmes place. Okay, so she knew what she was doing. So ignorant people can cause a lot of harm, and evil people can cause a lot of harm deliberately. You know what I mean? But either way, to me, it's if you don't know that that's wrong and you continue to do it, when you do learn that it is, you're evil. You know what I mean? I had to deal with some really horrible people who felt entitled to speak to me in a certain way. Well, they don't have that right. You know, just because you might know someone that I used to know, or somebody who might have the same, you know, what do you call it, blood ties or whatever with me, you don't have the fucking right to talk to me that way. You know, I treat everyone with respect until they should give me a reason to disrespect them. And when they give me a reason to disrespect them, believe me, I unleash. You know, and I don't feel as though that's something that I should be ashamed of. It's a weapon. And I have made people, I have literally brought people almost in close to tears or shaking when they feel like they've been confronted by me. I can just like literally tear into people if I need to. Okay. But I don't. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying is that, you know, I've dealt with a lot. And I do find human behavior very interesting and hypocritical. And I find like people and they're very two-faced, and you know, sometimes it's like what people don't understand about gang stalking. There is no loyalty, okay? And like for example, the people who have this dual relationship with, you know, me and then like my family and the other people got involved in this, okay? They're it's just like they're just entertained by the bullshit that's going on. You know what I mean? But they are still insensitive people when they allow or they permit this sort of thing to happen. You know, I was thinking how cool it would be to, you know, I think people should speak out about against corporations who allow this sort of thing to happen. I really do. You know, and I will say that think companies like uh, these companies that claim to be supporters of things like uh, affirmative action. Now, I'm going to talk about affirmative action in just a minute, okay? But companies that are supposed to support uh, equal opportunity type of people in general, okay? They don't think that they're ever violating any laws by the bullshit that they do, or they ignore. You know what I mean? And so this is the reason why I feel as though, you know, the business, I have this negative viewpoint about, I don't like to say corporate America. I like to say that I have a negative view again about what goes on in corporate America. And I don't like to call and put like even the small businesses in this group, but I'm talking about, you know, the 9 to 5, the work environment in general. Okay. I think people just use that term just because it's something it's relatable. Okay. But what I love going to work. I do. I love going to work. I do. And I take pride in going to work. Meaning like the reason why I dress up for work is because I love the fact and I'm appreciative and I'm grateful and it flows out of me. When I'm happy and joyful and content, it flows out of me. You know what I mean? And maybe that's one of the reasons why people like to refer to me as artistic because I'm expressive. You know what I mean? I think it is like, today's Thursday, so Maria's either going to wear like blues or greens or turquoise, or I'm just into that. Okay. I'm into it. But, what I don't like about corporate America is the hypocrisy of it. Like, I'm getting snubbed and treated like shit because, oh, Maria doesn't have her bachelor's degree. And blah, blah, all these people acting like they're so fucking smart and they're not fucking smart. To me, they're indoctrinated people who've accepted bullshit, and it's easy to indoctrinate them because if you think it's okay for somebody to actually deny the rights of a human being, something's wrong with you. You know, um, so I've dealt with evil and I've dealt with ignorance. You know, and to me, there's a very thin line between the two. They're almost like the same in a lot of ways. You know, I think walking around and being ignorant is to me should be a sin. But I'm not God, but it is kind of. It is because look at the damage that a person can do when they don't know. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a know-it-all. Okay, like obviously I make mistakes. I'm a human being. Okay, but when I don't know. I honestly think there was more evil involved in this than there was ignorance. Let's just put it that way. I think if you just like that bitch over there at the Holmes place, um, that bitch over there, she is an example of what human nature is. It's just somebody who feels like they have a sense of entitlement. And if they have the ability to harm, hurt, or create some sort of tension or friction and release their frustration out on another human being, they're going to do so. Because deep down inside, people are evil. And I don't care about what religion you call yourself, it doesn't matter to me. Because I know a hypocrite when I see one. I know one when I see one. And this is like the most obvious example of hypocrisy that I have ever experienced in my entire life. You got this perversion going on, and don't get me wrong, just because I am not a sexual person doesn't mean that I am somebody who looks down on people who have sex. I accept sex as a part of life. You know what I mean? But I'm not somebody who's going to be motivated and driven for sex. And some people are. Some people, that's all they ever think about. Okay. Well, I do want to bring back this conversation about affirmative action. I think that some people will try to claim that I am somebody who likes to play the race card. I know that when I had left the farmer's place, there was some sort of rumor going around that I was playing the race card. I didn't play the race card. Now, I would have played the race card had I left the farmer's place and started going around telling a bunch of people how the bullshit that was going on at the farmer's place. But I knew that I was in a pretty much predominantly white community. So I knew that if I was to say something like that, they would immediately say I was playing the race card. But guess what? These people thought and immediately accused me of playing the race card when I had done no such thing. I kept my mouth shut because I wanted to make sure I was going to be able to find another job. I did everything right. Okay? And when 2015 came around, and I realized after leaving that farmer's place, after like a year and a half of being dicked around and being constantly followed around by these same bloodthirsty fucking idiots, that I had been fucked over, and it came to it literally hit me that I was being gang stalked, that I was a targeted individual, that my life was being thrown around, torn up to shreds, and I was pretty much screwed. Okay. So I realized I'm going to start talking. I'm going to start talking. Fuck this confidentiality shit. Because, that right there, signing that document with the farmer basically only made it so that these people could have used me more by me not talking about it. And I wish that I would have that these lawyers and even including that fucktard over there in the other community that I originally came from, who should have known better. Okay, who should have really known better. Okay, especially since he's the fucking mayor and he's also involved. He's a fucking employment lawyer. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to go off on these people, but it's just like I went through something that is a nightmare. And I'm speaking out for people who are going through this nightmare, who are targeted individuals, because um, it is a devastating thing to happen. It is. It is a devastating thing to happen. To know that you are being exploited and that if somebody killed you, they could totally get away with it because the community has turned against you for no fucking apparent reason. So yeah, I deal with a lot. I deal with a lot. So I got blamed for a lot of shit. I carried the burden for something I had nothing to goddamn do with. And yeah, and perhaps that's one of the reasons why I wake up in the middle of the night in my weird, trauma state or whatever. What else would you expect? you know. But I don't know. I do find my own sense of peace of mind, and that comes from, of course, my spirituality. But I wanted to talk about. I can sit here and jump on different subjects as I talk, right? Because I'm so quiet all the time, and then when I finally get a chance to talk, I'm like blah 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 blah. But you know, I think that people would like to think that I try to get by on affirmative action. I have never done that. I do believe that people should work hard. They should have a very hard work ethic. I have never thought that somebody should hire me just because, or use that as an excuse, or in any way. But I do know the reason why I'm bringing up affirmative action is because there's a certain employment agency that cooperated in this, and they should be exposed for human trafficking. Um, they should be, and like I said, this is a fucking scandal, is what it is. It's a fucking goddamn scandal. But anyway, this particular company, when they talk about equal opportunity employers, equal opportunity. Let me explain to you what an equal opportunity employer. Sorry, employer is. It is an employer who it claims to adhere to the law and hires people based on an even paring. Okay, like for example, there is a candidate who has gone to a 4-year university, and not just one of those ones that you can like go to online, or the one she's like one of these um press people who live well, comes from a nice background, a well-bred person, someone who's classy, right? And then you have maybe somebody who went to a junior college for like 2 years, but she's like a minority, okay? But this minority woman, she worked for like 10 years, and this lady, she worked for 2 years, okay? But they want to put them on even pairing, meaning they're not going to sit here and look at her, because there was a time when an education was based on your class and based on how only certain people went to college, okay? Now everybody goes to college, whether you're black, white, you're a woman or a man. Everybody, it's become like a dime a dozen. Okay, you see ads for people getting grants, loans, whatever to go to college. It's become accessible to many people. Okay, but it was basically a way of trying to make things fair. You know what I mean? Trying to make things fair. And when I saw that, and I know there is a white woman that I'm going to talk about, but I'm not going to mention her name, okay? Because I worked with her, okay? And she didn't have much of a, like, she didn't even go to any college really, okay? And she had a pretty decent job, you know what I mean? But they served her. They were willing to bend over backwards for her,
And, you know, hey, they didn't do shit for me, and I knew why they weren't doing shit for me. It wasn't just because I was a black woman here in this community. Even though I would like to say that this particular employment agency is owned, the owner uh, is a black woman, and she has many offices throughout the United States. Okay, obviously she's somebody who fully supports equal opportunity, affirmative action, whatever. But I was not, and when I started coming to realize why I was not being a candidate, even though I had a stable work history at the time before they plowed through it, right? That the reason why is because this had something to do with my marital situation at the time and all this other stuff. See, and this is what pisses me off um, about these employers. It's like you should be looking at their skill set. You should be looking at what they're able to bring to the table. You should be looking at this instead of, you know, who they're married to or they're not married or what this ridiculous discriminatory stuff. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that they do. And maybe it's because I'm a self-disciplined person to where I'm a very self-disciplined person. I also like to say that I consider myself to be a classless person because I don't discriminate against people. And maybe it's because I'm a minority. Maybe it is. You know, maybe because I don't know what it's like to be privileged to where I can look down at other people and treat them like they're garbage and get away with it. I have no concept of that. Okay, but maybe if I did, I would feel compelled to treat other people like that. But the reason why is because not because it was based on racism necessarily, but do I think it had something to do? And I do. I know it had something to do with this issue that the gang stalking issue, the original reason. It had something to do with my blood relations and also had something to do with my ex-husband's family, whatever, you know. Um, I just looked at this situation and started losing more and more respect for people um, as this whole thing was going on. You know what I mean? And so I realized, you know, I was with the kind of people I was dealing with. I was dealing with evil people. I was dealing with arrogant people, ignorant people. Um, and it was disturbing to me. You know, I just feel like, you know, talking about it sometimes it's uh, it brings me some sort of peace, at least for the moment. Okay, at least for the moment, because it's something that I'm not allowed. See, this is where the trauma also gets reinforced. Okay, because you know it's a hush hush thing. People will never confirm to you that this happened to you. Like they want to sweep it under the carpet like it never happened. Okay, but I'm quite well aware of the fact that these people that I encounter at one time wanted me dead. You know what I mean? Because this is how evil and how much aware I was of the evil rumors, gossip, and all this other shit that I was being persecuted for when I was being persecuted by people who I looked at, I think, and I know based off of things written in the law, and then also things, if you want to get biblical, and I'm not a Bible thumper, okay, but since I was being, you know, wanting to be, what do you call it, a part of, they were wanting to make me a part of their cult or whatever. I look at some of the things they were doing that was extremely unscriptural. So they had like no excuse for their bullshit, right? I don't know. You know, it was like living hell over and over and over again. Like, you know, you falling asleep and somebody just waking you up and so you could just like live it over and over and over again. It was horrible. You know? And I'm thinking, wow, you know, it shocks me to see um how wicked people are. You know, because I just don't buy that somebody didn't know what they were doing was wrong. You know, but anyway, I mean, you know what I mean, like or how wrong it was. You know, because just because you know somebody who that the other person's related to doesn't give you the right to do that. And then also, and I think about, I think I was accused uh, of adultery. I think I was accused of that. And the thing is that my ex-husband was married to someone, I think while he was living with me, you know. And I also left my ex-husband because he was, you know, I realized that him and his mom were like that. And if I was running from him because I was trying to get away from that family, you can just imagine how traumatized I was when I found out my family was like that too, you know. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like my brain is just like spinning out of control, and I couldn't take it, you know. It was just, it's been like this whole 10 years after leaving the farmer's place has been like a hell. It's been a hell for me, really, it has been. But uh, back to the topic of um, me being persecuted for things, and people see. How could I be persecuted if this was not based on something evil and wicked? Because you know, I wasn't. Uh, how is it that Joel isn't being persecuted? Oh, because Joel's a white man, right? That's what it is. Because I obviously didn't do anything to deserve that bullshit. I didn't do shit. You know what I mean? So it's it's becomes quite obvious that you're dealing with racism. But cool as fuck as I am, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna put this together, and I can deal with it. You know what I mean? I guess I am a very strong person. You know what I mean? And I am not somebody who like brings up the race issue or anything, but I could not help but bring up the race issue when I had to deal with this issue. And I can't help but bring up the sexist issue or any other issue when I think of this issue. You know what I mean? It's a big issue, and it really should have been. Like I used to work for the news station on like downtown, and I remember when I started realizing I was gang stalked, I tried calling and wanting to get this on the news, and it should have been on the news. It should be on the news. It is a fucking scandal. It is. It's a huge scandal. You know what I mean? But I think there's a lot of people in this community that want to keep that shit quiet because it is an embarrassment to this community. You know. Um. So anyway, yeah, that's things from my perspective. Um. And I think my perspective's right. I do think of myself as classless because I mean, obviously, I know I'm a woman, and I obviously know that I'm a black woman. I also know that, you know, I'm not like super, super wealthy, and I'm not like, like really, really poor. So it's like when you think of classless, some people what they conjured up in their mind. I think there's about maybe three things that you could conjure up your mind when you hear the word classless. You think of maybe somebody who's tacky, somebody who's really tacky, who like, they got like stains all over their shirt and they belch out loud every time they eat something, just somebody who's gross, right? Or you can also think of somebody who's not necessarily that bad, but doesn't really have like a lot of pizzazz. They're not sophisticated. They don't, have fancy clothes or fancy material things. They're just kind of basic. But what I mean by classless, okay, is somebody who I refuse to align or side with a majority of people just because it's a predominant thought or belief, or just because somebody's the same race as me that I'm going to agree with them, or just because, I don't have any, my allegiance ultimately is to myself. Okay. And I tell people, or my ex blood relations, and people that used to know me and snubbed me because I didn't want to belong to their cult, that I don't I don't see the wisdom in following or being a follower. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, if somebody has something that I think is solid and I think that it's going to benefit me in a way where it enhances my knowledge, my skills, broadens my horizons, opens my mind, I'm willing to listen to that sort of stuff. But I'm not going to compromise my personal life or any part of my personality, um, or deprive myself of who I truly am for anybody. I think that's a miserable existence, is what it is. You know what I mean? And I pity women over in those countries where that happens to them, you know, where they're not able to express that. And it's sad. Okay. It's very sad. And it's sad that, you know, I come from a family that thought that it was appropriate to do this. And I would like, you know, I never really told my son, you know, how you should treat women. He should treat women. But, you know, I hope it's sad that he learned what these people were and at a young age was exposed to it. You know what I mean? Uh, and it's also sad that at the time when my son was growing up, that he didn't realize that things were different. No, don't get me wrong. You know, I'm not saying that I was a great person. You know, I had my problems when I was younger. I did have a lot of problems when I was younger, and I can't claim that I was like perfect or you know, I never did anything wrong you know, I never claimed that. You know what I mean? But I don't believe anything warrants taking away somebody's childhood. I don't think anything warrants taking away someone's life, basically. You know, and I don't want him to think that bullying people or by suppressing women that's appropriate. It's not appropriate. It's abuse. It is. And it's written into law because great wise people who wrote it into the law recognized it for what it is. It's abuse. Okay. You know, and I come from, you know, the thing is, it's like I come from a background that is not exactly cultured, you know, and don't get me wrong, there's more uncultured people in society than there are people who are actually cultured. And by me saying that I'm not cultured or come from a cultured background is in no way putting myself down. Okay. It's just the reality because there's a lot of ignorant people. The very people who got involved in this gang stalking issue weren't cultured. They were not able, or people who were civilized. Okay, now I would consider myself to be civilized, meaning I know the difference between right and wrong. I respect the law and I'm aware of the law, of laws, you know, and I see the importance of them and it comes out in my behavior. Like I know not to harm other people and I know what can harm other people. Okay, but a lot of people don't. You know what I mean? But, you know, I'm just basically saying is that, you know, people like me have to be protected, you know, and I'm going to protect myself whatever way I have to, you know, and it made me really sad that this happened because it interrupted my life is basically how I feel, you know, and uh, when I want my child to understand that when you do this sort of thing to women, you deprive them of existing without you deprive them of their only way of survival. You know what I mean? And that's terrible. It's terrible for somebody to think it's okay to gang stalk or blacklist somebody. Now, I don't know if it was my ex-husband who did it, or I don't know if it was my ex my ex family who did it, my brother or one of the brother-in-laws. I know they're all somehow interconnected with each other, but I don't know exactly who did it. But I didn't. It's wrong, you know. But one day I will have that discussion with him. Maybe one day at lunch or something. Bring it up. I don't know. But I want him to understand that. You know what I mean? And
you don't, just because you are related to somebody does not mean that you have to listen to them or that you have to obey them or that you have to be bullied by them or that you even have to consider what they want at all. And the reason why I say this is because, when you're over the age of 18, if you want to cut ties with your family, you have every legal right to. If my son said, I don't ever want to see you again, Mom, that would break my fucking heart. Okay. It would break my heart so bad. It would shatter me to its core. But ultimately, that's his right. That's his right to do so. You know what I mean? And I would have to respect that. I couldn't sit here and like stalk him. I could do that, but if he wanted to call the cops on me and get me taken away or put a restraining order on me, he would have the right to. He doesn't have to deal with me if he doesn't want to. Okay, luckily I have a good relationship with my son. Okay, and I'm sure that he still has a relationship with my blood relation. It's something we don't talk about. You know what I mean? And I'm glad we don't talk about it. When I see my son, I'm just happy to see my son, and we leave it at that. I don't want to bring it up. You know what I mean? But I don't see. I wanted to go back to. I'm jumping all over this conversation. I want to go back to the thing about not being civilized. What I mean by that is like I didn't go to like I went to I grew up in pretty much an all white community. Okay, but they weren't really, cultured either. They were most people that I would say the majority of people in the world are backwards, or they believe in things that they shouldn't believe in, or they accept things that they shouldn't accept, or they have contradictory thoughts and beliefs. This is something I've observed, okay? But not everybody knows what to do and what's proper and what is, like proper etiquette and behavior. You know what I mean? Not everybody knows that. You know what I mean? But even though I was not exposed to those things on a regular basis, okay? Like I said, I went to school with white kids, but it was like, regular white kids. It wasn't like, they went to school in like limousines or anything like that. It was just like just regular down to earth people, okay? But still not high class. So when I talk about me being classless, I basically am just somebody who exists. I exist. I am a black woman. I don't think that being black makes me or defines my personality in any way. I will say that it's a part of my heritage. It's where I come from, and it's the color of my skin. It's the texture of my hair. You know what I mean? But I have never tried to take any advantages in my life because of it. I've never sided with a person of my color just because they were black. If I saw a black person who was about my age or we came from the same type background or what exactly, right? I'm not going to defend this person just because they look like me. If you're guilty, you're guilty. And I've always been that way. You know what I mean? And that to me, it's like I think that's a big part of true spirituality is to be just to be, just to exist. You know what I mean? And not think that everything revolves around those things. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like certain parts of my cultural background. Like I like the history of um, uh, black people in the United States, especially like in the mid 1900s to the 1930s, of how people like me, spiritual black people, would go to the river and and it wasn't based really on religion, but I think a lot of people, there was a revival back then for a lot of us to look into our true spirituality because we started to realize that the religion that was given to us, which was Christianity, was something that was indeed given to us. It wasn't something that was natural for who we are and where we came from. It was a religion that was imposed on us. So we started looking into different ways of spirituality that was more like where we came from, if we even could have remembered at that time, because a lot of us were
diverted from they took the religions away from the people, supposedly, okay? Like, some people really do believe that we were brought over here, and then some people think that we were indigenous to this land, and that they just skewed and distorted history and said that black people were brought over here, when there's a very big possibility that we could have been here already. Now, that's a long story, and that's a story for another day, okay? And it's very controversial. It doesn't matter how I got here or where I got here, but I knew that Christianity was not a religion that was that originated with people of color. It was always something that was imposed on us. Now, don't get me wrong. I studied Christianity when I was younger. I would say go so far to say that I have respect for it to a certain extent. Okay, but I don't want to be a part of religion. I don't want to be a part of politics. I don't want to be a part. I just want to live a spiritual existence. I want to feel those spiritual vibrations around me at all times, you know. And this is just the kind of person I am. And I think that being classless, or being somebody who does not affiliate with any sort of group or limited belief, is far more beneficial to me than anything. Like, I feel content and very happy, at peace. I'm at peace with myself. I think that's probably the most important thing. You know what I mean? Is it for everybody? I don't think so. You know, but whatever it is that I believe, or what I adhere to, or the ideas that I have, I'm entitled to, and it's my right to have them. So anyway, I think I just needed to ramble a little bit, and I am getting tired. I don't think I'm tired enough to fall asleep. I am tired enough to slur my speech. I am tired enough to not read anymore. I am tired enough to, not have an appetite, but I'm just not quite tired enough to go to sleep. So I might be up for a few more minutes, but I am tired enough to also stop talking. So I'm going to wrap this one up, and I'll be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye bye.